It's me. Here we have paint that was on here when they painted the walls from previous owners. This is Everclear. Let's see if it takes it off. Look at that. Got a little bit left. Not too much. Polish out the wood a little bit. Look at that. It's gone. Look at all that grime. I know it'd be expensive to use this to clean all your woodwork, but look at that. On a side note, you'll notice this is all dull now compared to something like this. It's because when you use alcohol, it takes the shellac off the wood. So you can clean that up. You apply another coat of shellac on there, and you're probably good. So none of this other needs it, but I'll have to clean that up. But yeah, I'll make the shellac match what wasn't meant to be there. All right. And that's with shellac on it. It's a pretty close match. Now the reason why these look a little lighter is because they've been touched. So 100 years of, or 130 years of touching does that. Starts to wear down the shellac and everything on the stairs. Like that bottom rail down there, you can tell where the fingers were coming over the edge to follow the rail down with the right hand, and it wore all that out. It wore all the shellac off of it, so I had to re-shellac that too. Now you're wondering, how do you match that color? What's the best method? And from the dining room, I had stickers underneath the woodwork. And a sticker is a piece of wood that you could lay on top of the woodwork to keep it from hitting the towel or whatever you have underneath it. And I mean, look at that. If that was newspaper, it would have gotten up in the woodwork and everything else. So it's a good thing to have that underneath that type of work I was doing in the dining room. So the way I matched it is right here. So if you notice that one, it's pretty dang close. That one's even better. And that's how I matched it up. You can see, went with that one. But I kind of call this a story pole. So it's got random stain samples and stuff on it. As long as you know what was on it and how thick that coat is, that one's basically a real heavy coat or 2 light coats for that one. I mean, that one's just 1 coat of amber shellac. Of course, you have the stain on this side. But what you can do is you can take your stain, what you think it is, and put it on a stick or a pole of the same species, or it doesn't even have to be the same species of wood. It can just be a piece of pine. Something that takes stain and is similar to what your wood's going to take, and test it. If it tests okay and the match is close to the woodwork you have here, awesome, your job's done. Then go ahead and do it. If you need to make alterations, just make note on your stick what alterations you did for each one of them. You know, put like a 1 on the side here, and 2 and 3 and 4, and just put down what you've done. I can tell with the stick where things are going to be and what I did with this stick and what shellac was used on them. So I know all these were used with amber shellac in varying different, varying different levels or applications, we'll call it that, of shellac. So obviously I've got to do these pieces here yet, but this is just a start. By the way, I cleaned all the woodwork before I I did this because it sucked to get a bunch of dirt and crap trapped in it. This I had to do because obviously everyone stood right there and was grabbing the rail to either yell at the person or whatever they were doing. That just was a common place for people to put their hands on it. And of course, this rail going down here, and of course, the other rail going all the way down. I can show you again. That one got re-shellacked. But let me show you the one I didn't shellac. Is this one right here. You can tell this one is down to bare wood, kind of like the one I had up there. You see it saw in the previous clip. But this one's really dirty. You can see all this. This is all fingerprint grime. You gotta take a really micro abrasion pad and get all that off with soap water. But that's a different time. I didn't have time to do that today. But you can see the new shellac on everything. Shellac takes, depending on your environment, if it's real humid, it takes a little longer, but if it's dry and it's warm, shellac can flash off as much as 20 minutes and then be done hard in probably an hour, maybe an hour and a half, depending on what your conditions are. Usually I can get away with once it flashes, which means it's tacky. It's not exactly all the way through. I can apply another coat. And then I can apply 3 coats, one after another like that, and then let it dry overnight. And then come back to it in the morning, and it's rock solid with a nice finish. I can even do the stairs, clean them up really nice, and then re-shellac them, and it'll match all the woodwork. It's pretty cool. Old houses and amber shellac. Well, especially this one, this old house, and amber shellac. So there's that one. It's a globbed thing of paint. There you go. Removed. Some of this is just loose. But, you know, it works for that. That's a pretty thick piece of paint that globbed on there. And you can usually take this putty knife and pop it up. Just make sure you have it flat so you're not like gouging into the wood. So you got to make sure you put a finger on it. But something like this, where it's kind of in the grain, I can probably take shellac to, and I'd probably remove it. So there's varying things. I mean, like this whole floor. That's just stuff I've chipped away today. But, oh, here's something. See what I mean? They pop up like that. So I know some of you guys on the Old House group have been wondering about that and how to take the paint off the floors. That's pretty much how I've been doing it. Just be careful with the putty knife. Make sure you're not gouging the floor with it. If you have a pine floor, you got to be extra careful because this will gouge the floor. These are oak, and hardwood tends to wear a little bit better. And it tends to withstand, scraping, basically, with the putty knife. But basically, all you're doing is getting on the paint globule and like pushing it sideways to get it dislodged from the woodwork. When you have a big, thick piece of paint like that, it'll dry weird. So it acts like it's attached to the floor, but if you give it a good nudge, it'll come off. I've done that in here with the freaking when they glued up the tile with construction adhesive. And you see all that chaff there, that's all construction adhesive. But everywhere you see a bright white spot, everywhere you see a bright white spot, like right there, those are pieces that I've removed when I came through here. I haven't quite finished, obviously, but when I came through here, all those pieces up there were construction adhesive, where they've gone and they glued up ceiling tiles. And kind of a bear to pull off. In fact, I'm going to have to do some plaster repair on a lot of these. So like, let's see if I can get my finger in there. Like that one, we'll need some plaster repair. A lot of these will, if we decide to keep this plaster. We're going to tin the ceiling, but yeah, that's wallpaper from the one over here. The one over there is from 1888. That one's from about probably 1894.